In Inside Out 2, puberty takes over, bringing new emotions to the forefront of Riley's mind. While it's very much a child-friendly movie, parts of Inside Out 2 will speak to adults in ways that kids won't get just yet. Riley's emotions help build her personality in Inside Out, but their work is in danger of being totally wiped out in the sequel. Puberty hits Riley like a wrecking ball, literally. A red alarm button blares, and an entire wrecking crew of mind workers hits Riley's emotional headquarters, smashing through the walls surrounding joy, anger, fear, and the other emotions. While younger viewers might find this funny and drastic, older ones who have lived through the trauma bomb of puberty will recognize how seemingly everything changes overnight. The Demolition team clears the way for Riley to go from sweet to sassy and freshly insecure, not to mention super sweaty. Riley is at a loss with her sudden inexplicable mood swings and acts of social desperation, and her parents are blindsided. Riley's mom and dad aren't in much of Inside Out 2, but their scenes showcase the bittersweet nature of watching your child become a teenager. While they try to care for her the best they can't help but embarrass Riley with their every move. Many adult viewers will no doubt notice that there's a look of loss on their faces every time Riley snaps at them. Even child-free grown-ups might feel the burn of puberty past while watching Riley. Sure, puberty clears the way for new self to emerge, but it also leaves destruction in its path. The new crop of emotions in Inside Out 2 are all too familiar to adult viewers, even if their appearance may seem hilariously random to kids. Anxiety, envy, ennui, and the mostly silent embarrassment take control of Riley when puberty hits. This loss of childhood innocence and wonder, coupled with new senses of panic, shame, and desire, mark a new era of Riley's development and of her own self-consciousness.
I'm the worst!
While these emotions are new for Riley, adults deal with them every day and sometimes spend a lot of time in therapy trying to escape their iron grip. Adults have lived through puberty and may cringe in recognition of how much they too embodied the way too cool for school ennui back in their teen years, or their painfully awkward eras personified by envy and embarrassment. Adults will also recognize the relationships the emotions form with each other. Fear totally has a thing for anxiety, while embarrassment and sadness hit it off right away. Envy and disgust are two peas in a pod, desperate to preserve their social standing or improve it. These buddied-up emotions are a clever nod to the way our darker instincts can sometimes encourage and feed off each other. The Inside Out movies make the intangible world of emotions into a visually stunning and super clever wonderland. Riley's islands of personality are established in Inside Out, with each being more or less equal in size. However, in Inside Out 2, Riley's inner landscape has completely shifted. Friendship Island has grown so big that her family island can barely be seen. Mount Crushmore also takes up tons of real estate in Riley's fantasies. The crush-worthy carved faces include that of Jordan, a guy Riley might have had a little crush on in Inside Out. Kids may or may not pick up on the Mount Rushmore reference, but adults most certainly will. And while these big internal changes are mostly glossed over by the movie, adults will recognize Riley's shifting priorities. Even if Riley doesn't verbalize crushes beyond her obvious interest in the boy band Get Up and Glow, she is on the verge of all-new, all-consuming feelings, which honestly would make a great premise for a possible Inside Out 3.
Is Riley here?
Gossip flies around Riley's tween-age mind in Inside Out 2, showcasing how new priorities and pressures are changing her life. These whispers of other kids' social lives and scandals in bloom take the shape of rumor mill tabloid newspapers. Joy and the Gang of Emotions read some of the gossip news items out loud from the rumor mill papers, which are highly recognizable to everyone in the audience old enough to recognize what a paper copy of the National Enquirer looks like. Framing these rumors as tabloid fodder is yet another cute, effective visual metaphor win for the makers of Inside Out 2, one clearly aimed at the grown-ups in the audience. Of course, adults will also recognize the damaging power of rumors and the pressure of being the subject of gossip in a more pointed way than the little kids who are watching. But the fact that said rumors are distributed in print rather than on a website or via a TikTok video is for sure something that only adults will notice. News in an actual newspaper. What a concept. In Inside Out, Riley needed to find a middle ground between joy and sadness. There's a similar balancing act going on in Inside Out 2, which shows viewers that while a little anxiety can be helpful, That emotion should never be allowed to take full control. The kids in the audience may view anxiety as a funny, hyper-controlling, all-over-the-place kind of figure, but adults recognize the ebb and flow of anxiety's power and panic-inducing qualities through the character's arc. The creators could have easily made her a flat-out villain, but the fact that the movie shows anxiety truly trying to be a helpful planner only to become a total control freak will no doubt strike a chord with grown-ups. The way the character returns to being a helpful contingency planner who has learned to calm down by drinking a cup of angsty tea from time to time is also relatable for most adult viewers. Anxiety's arc is all about how this emotion can be used as a positive if kept in check. This is a great counterpart to Joy's realization that Riley may not feel the emotion of joy as much anymore, but she really does want to. Adults in the audience trying to balance everyday worries with everyday wins might find themselves getting hit right in the feels by this. A lot goes into the design of the emotions, and much of this work is only recognizable to adults. For example, Embarrassment's styling as an emo kid is perfect and a total shout-out to the older millennials watching Inside Out 2. The Gentle Giant's emotional support hoodie, hunched posture, general silence, and just barely visible plumber's crack is straight out of an early 2000s emo lineup. If Embarrassment was able to verbalize his feelings a little more, he would probably end up as the lead singer in a band. Elsewhere, kids may notice that envy is an adorable little pipsqueak of an emotion, but adults will understand just why such a big emotion comes in a small package. Envy is an emotion that makes people feel, well, small. Focusing on what others have, especially if it's an obsession over what you lack, inevitably leads to feeling ignored, ineffective, and teensy-weensy. Envy's tiny tot stature is misleading, and that's on purpose. What can start as a small streak of jealousy can often build into an all-consuming emotion, which pretty much every adult has experienced if they're honest with themselves. Adults will also recognize envy's manic energy and narrow focus. Jealousy makes the world very small and dull, even if the envy in Inside Out 2 is also funny and adorable. In a perfectly tense and hilarious sequence, Joy frees Riley's dreams from anxiety's panic projections. Anxiety has commandeered Riley's imagination and is only sending negative projections to her brain, keeping Riley from sleep. The tween protagonist is thrown into a state of insomnia as she worries over what to do to impress her new friends at hockey camp. This sequence takes heavy inspiration from an iconic Apple commercial called 1984, directed by Ridley Scott. The ad is inspired by George Orwell's dystopian novel of the same name, about life under oppressive overlords. Many adults in the audience will have seen this ad, whether at the time or on YouTube years later. Also, a lot of grown-ups will be aware of this fun fact. Steve Jobs played a big part in making Pixar what it is today. As such, this part of the film is both a cute corporate full-circle moment and a deliciously Orwellian nod. Anxiety's big panic attack in the final act of Inside Out 2 is one of the movie's scariest moments. She loses control and tailspins into a frenzy by refusing to let anyone help her, instead downing multiple energy drinks at once. Adults in the audience will know that power-chugging caffeine, while a natural response to panic, really only throws fuel on the panic attack fire. This moment becomes a stunning visual representation of an anxiety attack. Anxiety's reasonable plans lead to her being helplessly glued to Riley's emotional console. She phases in and out of her body, her eyes well with tears. Anxiety's own manic actions turn into a cyclone of orange light and worry. She can't stop herself or break the panic until Joy literally pulls Anxiety's hands from the console. Any adult who has suffered an anxiety attack or lives with a panic disorder can recognize this terrible feeling for what it is, even without the visual intercuts of Riley sweating and feeling short of breath. Inside Out 2 puts a face on the feeling, perfectly encapsulating the destructive power of a panic attack. Lance Slashblade is one of Riley's secret crushes. The emotions discover him when they are temporarily locked away in a vault. While younger viewers might wonder why he looks kind of funny compared to the other characters, his basic design is because he's a video game character from yesteryear. Today's video game characters look almost real compared to the ones featured in the games that the adults watching the film played as children. Lance is straight out of the 6th generation of video game consoles. We're talking PlayStation 2, the first Xbox, the GameCube, and the Dreamcast. His appearance and persona no doubt provided a hit of nostalgia for millennial adults in the audience.
Welcome to your eternal fate.
Nostalgia takes the form of a little old reminiscing lady in Inside Out 2, which is a great visual representation of the looking back fondly emotion. Nothing makes us feel old like recalling the good old days. Kids may not fully understand why nostalgia isn't supposed to be here yet, as Joy points out, but the adults will. While tweens and teens have fond memories just like adults do, so much in their young lives is changing. They may want to recall something for a moment, but adults can sometimes be powered by nostalgia because they're in a different stage of life. Another thing adults will notice about nostalgia, aside from her being a bit early for Riley, is that she always seems to pop up out of nowhere, just like nostalgia does in real life. A certain scent or note of a song can immediately transport grown-ups to another earlier time in their life. In a nice touch that probably went over the heads of the kids in the audience, the creators made the lenses of nostalgia's glasses pink. This is clearly a nod to the saying, rose-tinted glasses.
Yeah, those were the days.
Riley's deep dark secret isn't actually all that deep or dark, even though it desperately wants to stay in hiding. The secret crawls back into the vault that joy and the other emotions worked so hard to escape, despite being given the chance to roam free. Adults may recognize that what someone thinks is a terrible secret worthy of hiding away might not actually be so terrible when brought to light. Adults may also roll their eyes at Riley's deep dark secret. The movie builds it up intensely, only for the payoff to be somewhat underwhelming. Maybe this emotion is meant to be a container for secrets that will grow and change as Riley does.